The laughter echoed through the glass-walled lobby like something sharp and careless, the kind that cuts deeper when it lands on someone already carrying too much. It was midday, sunlight pouring through polished windows, when she stood there with an envelope held carefully in both hands, as if it were fragile or alive. Her clothes were simple, her posture tired but dignified, and her eyes carried the quiet courage of someone who had learned to endure more than she ever deserved. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing when no one is watching, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Life Spark Stories. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Her name was Safia Noor, and returning that envelope had taken everything she had left. The night before, she had found it on a city bus seat, tucked between cracked vinyl cushions, its corner bent and smudged from being stepped on. Inside were documents she didn't fully understand, crisp papers stamped with seals, and a handwritten note that spoke of trust and legacy. Safia was a widow, a seamstress who worked by a sunlit window in her small apartment, stitching dresses for people who never knew her name. Money had been tight since her husband passed, tighter still after her sewing machine broke down the week before. For a moment, temptation whispered, but conscience spoke louder. By morning, she had traced the return address and taken 2 buses to a building that looked like it belonged to another world. The man who laughed was Roland Kestrel, a well-known investor whose name gleamed on the directory in brushed steel letters. He stood near the reception desk, impeccably dressed, confidence radiating from him like cologne. To him, Safia was an interruption, a curiosity at best. He assumed the envelope was some misguided attempt to seek a reward or attention, and his amusement drew the eyes of others waiting in the lobby. Safia felt the familiar heat of embarrassment crawl up her neck, but she did not lower her gaze. She explained, calmly and respectfully, that she was only there to return what didn't belong to her. Her voice was steady even as her hands trembled. What Roland did not know was that the envelope was never meant for him. It bore his company's logo, yes, but it had been misplaced during a property transfer involving a silent partner, a man who preferred daylight meetings and handwritten notes over digital records. That partner was Haroon Vale, an aging urban planner who had quietly shaped half the city decades earlier and now lived without fanfare. Those papers represented ownership of land set aside for a public housing project, something Haroon had protected fiercely against greedy development. As the laughter faded and impatience thickened the air, the glass doors opened again. Daylight spilled across the marble floor as Haroon Vale walked in, leaning lightly on a cane, his eyes alert and searching. He had spent the entire morning retracing his steps, heart pounding with the fear that his life's work might be lost to carelessness. When his gaze landed on the envelope in Safia's hands, time seemed to pause. He recognized the handwriting instantly. He recognized integrity when he saw it. The shift in the room was immediate. Roland's smile faltered, replaced by confusion, then something closer to dread. Haroon approached Safia first, not the reception desk, not the investor. He listened as she explained how she found the envelope and why she came. There was no drama in her explanation, only honesty. The older man's eyes filled with quiet emotion, the kind that doesn't spill easily. In that bright lobby, surrounded by wealth and ambition, Safia's simple act of decency stood taller than all of it. Haroon revealed the truth of the envelope's importance, and with it, the truth about who Safia was in that moment. Not a poor seamstress, not an inconvenience, but the reason a future housing project would survive. Roland's laughter became a memory he wished he could erase. The room felt smaller, humbled by a woman who had nothing to gain and everything to lose, yet chose what was right. Near the end of this story, if it's touching your heart even a little, please engage with the video by liking, sharing, or leaving your thoughts. Stories like this grow stronger when shared. Haroon ensured Safia's broken sewing machine was replaced and arranged steady work for her through the very project she unknowingly saved, not as charity, but as respect. As she walked back into the daylight that afternoon, envelope no longer in her hands, she felt lighter than she had in years. The world hadn't changed overnight, but something inside her had. Before this story ends, please comment below with the word integrity if you believe small, honest choices can change lives.